Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Ellen. Today we're working with watercolor and we're going to paint a semi-abstract rowboat, coastal kind of design. We're going to be splattering paint, washing in paint, moving paint around, removing paint. This is super fun to do, just an easy technique. You're just drawing the simple boat and then painting the elements, and you can remove the elements and then you can add them back in. It just gets you out of your comfort zone, something fun and interesting to do, and kind of playing with watercolor. I give you a reference photo, so no fret, don't worry about it. And you don't even need the photo, you can just draw a sailboat that you like. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments section. I'd love to hear if you like this kind of style and this kind of technique. Also, check out my Patreon. I have ad-free videos, traceables, exclusive tutorials on Thursdays, and a live stream in the top tier. It's just a place people go to support my channel, which I appreciate so much. And you can check it out in the little boop thing on the right-hand corner in a second. So, without further ado, let's get painting the rowboat. Alright guys, so we'll go over some supplies here. I'll be using my Fabriano Artistro 100% cotton cold press block. That's 9x12. Playing around with my Princeton 3/4 inch Velvet Touch series brush. I'll be using a kind of bigger brushes too today. I'll be using like the Princeton Neptune number 12, and then playing around with the 8 long round Velvet Touch series for details. I'm not going to use that many paints. I'm probably going to add a red in here, maybe, I don't know. I gave you a reference photo. But I'm not painting all this. I just kind of reference photos. See, sometimes you take reference photos of something that you like, an element, but you don't want the rest of the stuff. So today I like the boat. I'm not going to copy everything in the boat. I kind of sketched that already here. You can see the boat here. Just a loose sketch of the boat. And so you take an element, and then from there you can create some kind of cool, I wouldn't say, it's like semi-abstract, right? So you actually see an actual image, but then you're making the whole area around it kind of abstract. And that's what we're going to do today. We're going to play around with that. So how do you do that? You just basically draw your boat first, right? I have a little simple outline of the boat, and we're going to play around with adding in just kind of cool watered down colors. I might use my Liquidtex acrylic ink, or I could use white gouache. So if we can do a little splattering, what it does, has this effect where it kind of just repels and it makes kind of cool textural kind of look to it. You can use some scraping technique with the back of your paintbrush, right here, the edge of it, or a credit card, or even like a palette knife. I'm trying to find my credit card. I don't know where it is. It's hiding somewhere. Well, anyways, and you can use all kinds of stuff for that. Twig, hell, you can even have a shell. I have a clam shell here. Don't ask. I have just all kinds of weird stuff on my desk sometimes. So we're just like here. I just drew out the simple boat, and now I'm going to take some water on my brush. I'm going to loosen up some paint that I have here. I have peacock blue. Just going to loosen this up with this big brush. Now I'm not going to paint like every part of this picture either, right? So I'm going to tilt the paper. When you tilt the paper, the water flows down where you want it to go. So if you wanted to do like an even wash, you know how you do the even wash, you go like this, right? And you just keep going down, and water's going to keep going down to where you want it to go. But I don't want to do an even wash. I'm going to grab some of this peacock blue and just kind of twist it, right? Twist it. It doesn't matter if I go over the boat a little bit, around by the boat. Just taking this brush and I'm going down here. See, this paper already has like a nice tooth to it. See how I'm just kind of like wisping my brush like this around the outside edge of that boat. You can grab some more concentrated color. See, I'm grabbing that. It's going to kind of blend into the other parts. I'm just I didn't mention I have a paper towel here. I tap sometimes in my paper towel. I can grab the loose paint. You can also just clean up your brush. You hear that clanking? And take some loose water and kind of move the paint around this way, out here. See? You have a hard edge here. Maybe you want to soften that. Just kind of go out like that. There's many ways to play around with the sky. And see, I'm going back over here. I'm holding on the side and doing the same kind of technique where I just kind of went around this boat. So I'm grabbing more concentrated color. It's going to be more intense, right? You can see the outline of the boat now, just with a concentrated color, just around the boat. And I'll clean off my brush and I can kind of play with moving that paint around. The block is good for something like this because it's going to be extremely wet on wet. And therefore you don't want it to buckle too much, right? So there we're going to leave that. At that point, if you want to like take some other colors like ultramarine blue, you can just kind of play around with that. Or even a brown, like I have a burnt umber here. Loosen this up. And just kind of play around with the sky. You can just kind of either tap in some color, like I'm doing here, splattering, or just kind of tip, tap, top. But if you want your sky to be like a nice, pretty blue, like the peacock, just leave it. Just depends on how you feel about it. You want it to be really dark and intense. Maybe add some indigo and whatnot. So now we're going to do the area like under the boat or part of the boat, right? For the boat, I can still use this brush. It has, in the photograph, it has like an intense blue. And if you want to keep all this really blue, you could do that. I have the peacock and ultramarine. It's kind of an ultramarine bluish kind of color, and then you can have the shadows. For the shadows, I might mix in more of like a little bit of quinacridone magenta with the blues to make a purple blue with a little brown shadow. I don't want to do like a typical, that's going to be my gray. So got the magenta, the ultramarine, there's a purple, can add a little burnt umber. Or if you have like a burnt sienna, I don't have a burnt sienna. If you had a burnt sienna and ultramarine blue, that'd be perfect shadow color. See, I'm going in here, playing around with the blues and the browns to get my like gray that I want. Maybe a little more brown. See, then it makes a nice perfect gray. Just kind of going on the side, using this brush, by the way, still holding on side. Now you can see the boat really doesn't really have any shadow, but I can create some kind of shadow technique with this, just a little bit. We're not really using it for its serious nature of a realistic boat. We're just going to get the shape. I'm adding a little, like I said, some shadows here. I'll soften it down a little bit here, this gray, and I'll put it under the boat here. Just still using this brush, holding it on its side. The way you hold brushes is also very important. I'll get a little darker, can add a little more blue. See, ultramarine blue, mix it in, and I'll create an even darker shadow. Just like that. This is kind of off a little bit. Kind of going up to the boat. And there's a little bit of shadow here. So I'm going to keep that like white underneath. So now we're going to play around with the underneath part of the boat, right? I might grab, it depends on what kind of blue you want. Do you want a light blue or dark blue? I have this little indigo here. I'm going to play around with this. So now at this point, I'm going to lift this up. I'm going to grab some indigo, mix it in with my blues, right? It's going to be really dark. Going right under that boat. Can be pretty intense like the pigment. Ooh, I kind of lost some of that right there. See, now you see that the boat seems white and that gray is now the shadow. And you can go and add this indigo here. Really, I just grabbed the pigment itself. Just kind of put that right on the paper. Now from here, we're going to have some fun. I'm holding it up straight. I didn't mention that I have a spray bottle, but now that you know that I have a spray bottle, by the way, I can add some grays over here, some different color blues. I'm adding some ultramarine blue. I'm going to start to play around. I'm holding it up on my water jars with the spray bottle. and watch it bleed. Ooh. You can kind of help it by cleaning off your brush and taking some water. Just kind of tap, tap, tap. Go like this. Lift up some of the water. It's going to stop where the water stops. See? You can kind of manipulate it. Now, obviously, it's going to dry a little bit lighter. Maybe you'll add some more pigment, some more color, more paint. I'm going to drip, drip, drip some of that. I'm going to grab some more indigo. See? Really dark. Intense. Now I'm just playing. I'm just, seeing what's going to happen. I don't have a plan, and that's the beauty. And I'm going to grab this indigo color. Excuse me, peacock blue. You can take your paper towel, by the way, at this point. See how on the bottom it's just kind of pulling here, kind of loosen that, lift that. I'm going to take my peacock blue and add some yellow. I want some more aqua color. So I've got the cadmium yellow deep. And I'll mix the two together. Hear the clanking, by the way. And you get a turquoisey aqua color. I feel like it needs some pretty colors in here. So I'm going to blend some of that in with my brush. I haven't used a smaller brush yet. I'm still playing with this big flat brush. Just letting that drip down. And I'm going to grab some water. Go to the edge here, where it all drip down. Right off to the edge. See, and if you take a paper towel, I'm sorry, I can't speak today. And kind of, like I said, again, lift or even kind of move the paint if you want with the paper towel. It's also very fun to play around with that. Right? I'm just going to play around with adding more colors. Maybe I want to add a splatter of color, some color. So I'll grab my Princeton 12. Kind of want to cover this a little bit. So maybe I'll take the photograph and I'll just kind of cover it. And I'll take some ultramarine blue, all the stuff that's going on down here. Tap that in there. See? Can still add more pigment. I'm just playing at this point. It's really wet on wet. That's why these blocks are really good. Just want to play around with color. Gonna get some of that bright peacock blue in here. Go up in the side here. And then this is also where you can use this lovely Liquidtex acrylic ink. Just playing around with that. I'm just going to grab, not such a great, don't grab you any nice watercolor brushes. Grab kind of a meh brush. And then we'll see this do its thing. See how it's repelling? It makes a nice kind of cool texture. Don't have to do this, it just adds all these cool little bits and parts, kind of fun, So this is where we're gonna play around with maybe a little dry, really light up here. I'm gonna clean up some of this mess in here. And we're gonna add color back in there. We could use the bigger Princeton 12. Because don't forget, watercolor dries light. So I could just come play around here. Mixing some colors, adding colors. And then you can hear the clanking. I'm grabbing water. I probably should get like a plastic cup so you don't hear the clanking so much. I'm just kind of going out here again. Kind of blending this. Just adding some more. Now that's why I'm saying use the block, because look, it's already curling on the block, and it's just going to be very, very hard to flatten out a different type of paper. So, this is when you use the block. This is when you spend the money on it. Something really wet on wet. See, just getting some kind of doodads in here. And if you want it a little bit lighter, again, you can grab your paper towel and play around with taking up some paint. You know, it doesn't have to be as dark or intense as that. Just kind of playing around. You know, maybe you didn't like the indigo. I mean, the indigo was too intense. You can soften that up a bit. Add some of these other colors in here. Going off. But I just kind of thought the intensity was kind of fun. Going back and adding some indigo in here. All right, at this point, I would wait for it to dry. If you want to add a few like splatters up here, kind of a darker color. Try not to get it on your boat. You can get some on your boat. It's just going to make it a little more interesting, right? Just a fun little coastal. And like I said, maybe down here it's getting all kind of boring, right? You can take your paper towel and you can kind of twist it and it creates this really cool texture. I have a tutorial with a window that looks like a Tuscan window. Go look at that and I'll show you how to make texture, kind of twisting your paper towel. You can kind of remove some color if you want to, see? It's kind of fun to play with this as well. Get all kinds of cool things happening. Just with the paper towel, by the way. See? And then you could splatter here as well. Don't leave that side alone. Again with color. I might go back and splatter some blue. Boom. All right, I'm going to leave this, let this dry, and then we'll come back and do some boat painting. Okay, guys, so now that we've let most of it dry, now we're going to do some detailing. So we just grab a Princeton 8 long round or a nice, medium to short brush that has a good tip to it. And I'm just grabbing some ultramarine blue, making the color loose as about cream coffee kind of situation. And then we're going to just start doing some details of the boat, like the beautiful blue line that you see kind of going around the boat. And I'm just kind of loosely just painting this in. This is where people get, lost in this kind of situation, is that they're just really getting really tight. You don't, just kind of do it fast. By the way, see how my pinky folds down here? It helps to guide the brush on the paper. And actually, I'm standing painting this, by the way. So I have the cross seat here. Got the oars in here. You can barely see the oars in the photograph, but just sticking that blue that you see. Maybe a little line under here. I'm not going to put in all the little details. There is a couple other details, like another dark black line that comes here. Get a little blue brown. Mix that up. I mixed the ultramarine with the burnt sienna. The burnt umber. And then there was a simple blue. Grab some indigo. Line, kind of like right here. See, just doing some of the detail, not all of it. You get the idea that it's a boat. And this cross of the seat here. And some of the lines coming in here. Now the oars, obviously I'll make them, the photograph shows them to me like a cream color. You can make them whatever you want. You can make them blue, brown. Just because you see a photograph that it looks like that, doesn't mean it can be red. You maybe want to put some oars that are red. So I'm just loosely putting in these brown kind of oars that you see coming off here. It goes into into the boat underneath here, so you really can't see. The oars did have a pattern in them, and I didn't want to bother with that. So this one comes across. So you're just giving the impression of the oar. I don't care that it doesn't look exactly like the picture. You see the oar. so they can actually row the boat. And then the depth of the boat. Then you have to go down in here. You know, you have to imagine there's a shadow from the oar coming down here. And then the bottom, you see the bottom, but you kind of can't see because it's kind of white. So you just kind of picture the bottom's in here, and I'll just do a little shadow here. You know, otherwise it looks kind of funny, but it doesn't really matter to me. There's like a plastic basket in here somewhere, and then there was some other blue kind of elements, but basically doing the shape of a boat, you know, and I might add a little more details up in here. I don't have to get too fussy. You know, if you want to add some gray like lines that you see, the lines of the boat here, get really fussy with it. I kind of don't want to do that. Get a little bit darker with my blue. And adding some blue here and on the bench. And the blue here and on the bench. You know it's a boat. That's all that matters, right? It's supposed to be kind of representation of the boat, not super perfect. You know, right there, I'm good. Like I can wash some of this shadowing in here. I just added some water, just kind of pushing that paint around. And even in here, I can just take my brush, add some water, put it on its side, and kind of soften these edges of the boat. I didn't want it to make it super perfect, you know. You can still even add some shadowing down in here. Just added that blue gray kind of color here. That's pretty much it. Like another trick that you see me do, some people will think it's crazy and nuts. See, I'm going to go add this dark blue up in here. I kind of like to erase what I painted. And why would you say, and you would say, why would she do that? It's kind of nuts. Well, I really want to go for that atmospheric look. I'm going to make, and I was, you know, didn't want just intentional, like serious looking boat, you know. So then I would take this brush or something like that and grab some water and kind of wash away what we painted. See? Now, if I didn't like it, I can go back in and kind of lift up some of the paint. And you've got this like really softened kind of look. See, I'm going to go twist around and take my paper towel and kind of go out like this. It just softens it. I'm going in here. Don't want to do this too much because you kind of wreck your paper. But that's how you do it if you want to just have that really kind of super soft look. And you can go back in also, again, if you didn't like it so much, and you're like, I didn't like that, I really want to go back. You can. Just wait till it dries and go back in and add your intense blue that you had. It's just more tools in your toolbox to play with, to be more creative. I mean, the whole point is to have some fun, be creative, change things up. That's what I'm all about. I do want to go back in here with my little brush and kind of get the intensity of this boat shape. And then go back and soften the lines again. Right? So you see the front. If you wanted to go and add, you know, some ripples in the ocean, maybe make the paint a little more concentrated. Just do some wiggles like that. I have the indigo, the peacock, and the ultramarine kind of all going together. And you just do a few like little ripples kind of coming down like it's in the water. You know, the photograph doesn't show it in the water, but you can imagine it in the water. Right? Just use your little imagination. And it's in the water. And that's pretty much it. That's my little fun little sailboat for the day. Excuse me, not sailboat, rowboat Oh my Lord. Brain fog city. So now those lines might be too much and you might want to soften those a little bit. See if I add some water to my brush. Just softening these lines. And you can also soften them by just tap-tapping a paper towel on there. And that's it. So we have a little cute coastal rowboat. You know it would be really fun though. Add an element of surprise. Just a little red or orange. So you know blue and orange are great. They're complementary colors. And you know, think of that summer as that orange. You can add a hint of orange. Maybe on the oar. See? And then somewhere on the boat. Maybe put a number on the boat. There was numbers. It's just gonna it's gonna give it some more interest. Creative. I'm adding a little orange kind of line here. Right, and then I can go back into that deep blue line that I took out because I was having fun. And then you can go back in and add a little blue shadow here coming down. Just little details. I might add that shadow back in here under the oar. These are just minor things. You can either have them or not. All right. So hope you guys like this. If not, no big deal. You know, but I'm just trying to teach you different ways to look at, you know, trying to figure out ideas, painting ideas. If you like the boat, but you didn't like the background, there's one way you can change it up. You know, all this kind of fun stuff. And if you feel like you painted out too much of it and you want to go back and grab some white gouache, water it down a little bit, and you can kind of go in and put those white highlights back in here that you've kind of washed away with my crazy washing away technique. You know, that's the beauty of having a little bit of white gouache. You can fix that. And you've got your boat back, right? And really nice, intense white highlights here. But I think it was just kind of fun. And then you can splatter some more white gouache while it's even dry, this whole area. And then change that up too. Like it's a splatter in like a wave. You know? I think that's kind of fun. All these things you can do to make the boat seem like fun. So thank you guys so much for stopping by my channel. Please don't forget to hit the bell notification button. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. And let me know what you're thinking about things like this. If you like to take simple elements and change it up and kind of have a semi-abstract kind of quality to them. Okay guys, after I stopped filming, I decided I wanted to make it even looser, so I did that wipe away technique. As you see, the boat is kind of wiped away, so you know what I showed you how to do that. You just kind of do that wherever you feel like you need to erase it to make it look a little softer, which is what I did. So I hope you guys enjoyed this, and take care and have a great day.